Welcome to another edition of Great Health, Abundant Happiness, and Outrageous Love. What a great afternoon we had hiking with the kids, huh?
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. We went up to a river where the water's just coming off the mountain. All the snow melt is just incredible. And it's free. That's what's great about all this extra free time we have. It's incredible. But we want to talk tonight about I'm going to say it's a new concept for us. We're calling it the soul connection. And it's basically connecting, whether it be a relationship with a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend. Could be a friendship, even something in business. But the soul connection is a connection above the ego, if you will. And we were describing it as a bridge over those troubled waters of the ego. Your ego is your pride, your anger, competition, all that kind of stuff. And I can just speak from our relationship, and we kind of connect at that higher self level, and you kind of put all that stuff aside. It's easier to get along, obviously, because when you get two different people, you got two different ideas, and you don't always agree on everything. The ego comes into play, and sometimes it can turn into an argument or a disagreement.
So the ego is everything at the lower vibrational levels, correct?
Yeah. It's actually most of your lower vibrational energies are kind of tied down here in the ego. That's why I like the whole thing about a soul connection. It's higher self. Think of it as a bridge across these troubled waters down here. All the issues that we have as human beings. I mean, nobody's perfect. We all have these things. I mean,
right.
Pride. Oh, somebody said something that hurt my feelings.
Right.
That's pride. That's ego. I mean, that's.
When we talked about this morning, that babies, are they born without an ego? Because you can't say anything to hurt their feelings. They don't know what you're saying and the meaning of it, right? So, using your words, which are usually what hurts an ego, you can't affect a baby.
Yeah, well, they haven't really developed it yet. We're talking.
So are we born without an ego, and it's something that we develop?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a consciousness that you build, and it comes to you from your parents telling you what's good and bad. I mean, there's really no good and bad if you kind of really believe everything should happen as
and how
it is.
Great or not great you are.
Yeah, or competition. You need to get an A. A C isn't acceptable. You're in a foot race. You need to come in first or second. Don't come in last. All that kind of stuff is built out on the ego, right?
Yes, a friend of ours was telling us a story how he had an opportunity to take a job with a very nice salary or do his own business, and he really wanted to do his own business, and as it turned out, it was the right choice. But his father said to him, what are you, stupid? Of course take the salary job. And it really hurt his feelings that his dad said that to him, even as a grown man. That's what's so funny,
Right.
is that our ego, I almost think as we get older, if we're saying that you're not born with one, I'm not sure where it starts. Somewhere in grade school, I think, is where it starts.
Yeah, or maybe even before that, when your parents tell you what's right and wrong, or maybe it's your religion, how you were brought up. These are the layers. We've talked about this before. If you believe you're born, pure love, a ball of pure love, spiritual energy, which that's what I believe. You look at a baby and you see him smile at you. I mean, you can just see that, right? They don't know right from wrong, good or bad. All they know is pure love. And so that all these layers are put upon you by your parents, your teachers, your religions, your society, work, all of that kind of stuff. So it is built up. And I think, what's interesting, we talked about this, you're born pure love, and a lot of people get back there. We were talking about a family member that passed, and at the end he was talking about himself, like, I was always a good boy. He was actually went back to almost like a childlike person, just a beautiful childlike person, at the end of the day. So you wonder, do we start out pure love and we finally figure it out at the end and you get there? Does everybody figure it out? I'm sure that they don't.
Well, I think as we discussed, they don't. I mean, everybody doesn't die at, in their 90s with time to reflect on their life. And some people die in their 90s and even at 100, and they still don't reflect on what they've done. That really is a gift. I think that we are gifted if we have the time and ability to reflect on, you know, our life. And you've always said this, you know, die before you die. Don't wait until then. You know, do it as each day goes
Right.
by, and be grateful for each day. Some people get sick and they really have an opportunity. You know, I lost my best friend to cancer at 42, and you know, her words sometimes haunt me because you know, she said, I wasted a beautiful life, and that haunts me. I know she had the time to reflect on everything, and I know that she actually made amends with some you know, family members. They weren't even technically her family members, but exes of her siblings, that she didn't want to leave this world regardless of what their situation was, you know, with any kind of anything unresolved. But it does haunt me that she said, I wasted a beautiful life, because I thought, oh gosh, you know, that's a tough thing to go to your, you know, to your deathbed with. And the reason being is that she was sick and she didn't have herself checked out.
Well, her life was shortened because of the
Because of the
sickness, cancer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the blessing for her is that she did take that time, though, to reflect back and let her ego completely go, and know that she didn't really waste a beautiful life. You know, she had a beautiful life. It just was shorter than what it could have been.
That's a pertinent comment that you're making, because she thought at one point that, you know, she's wasting life. This is the ego world that we're talking about down below.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really think about wasting time or you did things wrong unless you're thinking from the ego,
Right.
and not the higher self. So that's why I like this whole thing about you know, a soul connection, because your soul is really your higher self, not your ego. So I keep raising up like higher self because it's higher. I mean, that's you know, it means anything else other than
Right,
like
not physically.
Yeah, I like the analogy that
Right.
you know, you're bridging the higher self, and you're above
Right.
all this down below, because that's
sometimes you dip down
Well,
into those rough waters
we always
because your ego gets the best of you.
we're human. Even Karen and I, you know, once in a while we'll be cruising along, bridged at the higher self, and everything is perfect and it's unbelievable. And then we might be wrapped up in business, something pulls you down, and she may challenge me on something or ask me about something, or I'll shoot back and we'll get snippy, which we don't really want to do. But that what happens is you get in this ego state. It's competitive, you're fast paced, you're trying to get things done, and it's stuff that, quite frankly, is not important in the big scope of things.
Well, I don't really think anything is important in the big scope of things. Anything in life other than really being good to other people.
Or good and pure love, right?
And taking care of yourself. Yeah. Everything else, you know, all conversations and discussions, and you know, whether or not we listen to each other, and you know, those things at the end of the day aren't important, really, or we would do them with more diligence and they would take, you know, priority. So it's a great, you know, it's a great thing to think about, and try to let those things go. You know what? Stay on the bridge, but throw those things over the bridge and let them flow away.
Right.
So I love that.
Right.
I think it's Wayne Dyer says, ego is energy goes. So throw that, you know, whatever it is that's holding you back, throw that over the bridge and let that energy go, because usually that's a negative energy, right?
Yeah. And it's and nobody's perfect. So as you think about this, I was writing the book this morning, and the examples I gave about you know, getting pulled back down in the waters of the ego, it's either, you know, something happens at a job, or actually the analogy I used, it was someone compliments you, hey, I like your shoes. You're walking down Main Street. I like your shoes. Oh, that's nice. That's an ego thing. You like the compliment. Or someone cuts you off on the way downtown, cuts you off, and you're, you know, swearing, whether you're flipping the person off or you're angry about it. That's an ego thing. You get dragged in. So someone could give you a good compliment, so it's positive. Pulls you into the ego. Oh, my pride. Oh, that's great. I'm gonna wear these shoes again. I got a compliment. How many compliments did you get on your shoes today? That's an ego thing.
Right.
Somebody cutting you off and you're angry. That's an ego thing. I mean, I give Karen full credit. I would always be rushing around like crazy, and if someone cut me off or I had to get ahead of somebody, she would say, well, that person may be rushing to the hospital. Maybe they just found out their wife was giving birth, or maybe there's an emergency in the family. And if you think about it that way and someone cuts you off, it's not a big deal.
Well,
right?
And the point is, they're not cutting you off. They're personally speeding ahead to get wherever it is that they're going, based on whatever is going on in their life, which we have no idea about exactly. And it's funny that we would be so egotistical to think that everything people do is about us. And I think that's really the best way to lead this message.
That's a great way to think about it too. It is egotistical to say, oh, that so-and-so cut me off. Like, he cut me off. Like, he doesn't even know you exist.
Exactly. They have no idea what you're thinking, and they're not doing anything to you. So again, sometimes we are so egotistical to think that everything happened because of us, or or to us, and that is so not the case. It's not the way the world works.
Right. So our new thing is now, and love to hear your comments down below, stay at that soul connection. We're trying to stay at a higher level. Karen and I might even say, this has just been a few days since we've been talking about this. Let's stay on the bridge, up top. And if we catch each other going down, sometimes that can be aggravating too in your ego. But it's a challenge. We aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect, and just try to stay at that higher self and that connection, that soul connection, because it's beautiful.
Right. It's beautiful. And I think it's also really important to say that, we all let our ego get in front on occasion.
Yeah.
I have not met one person, even some of our teachers that we regard with the utmost respect, we've seen them.
We see it.
Let their ego get the best of them. And I have never met anybody who hasn't let their ego get somewhere involved. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Do we want to get to the point where we have absolutely zero ego? We certainly don't want to be all ego. Or is there some sort of a balance along the way?
It is a balance.
Yeah.
It is a balance.
I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts as well.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us. Wishing you great health, abundant happiness, and outrageous love from the nest at Copper Mountain.
Thanks for listening. Give us a like if you would, and please subscribe if you haven't already.
Peace out.
Thanks.